I would have to say 2023 was a really successful rockhounding year for me. I had a lot of good experiences and I had a lot of opportunities to collect in places that I would usually not get to, and for that I am very thankful. I also met many people along my travels, fellow rockhounds who I made connections with and rockhounded with, and for that I'm also very thankful. I thought I would kind of give you guys a showcase of some of my favorite finds of 2023. I will have to say there are many finds here that I wouldn't have been able to get my hands on, but due to the aforementioned rockhounders that I met and I collected with, I did get to collect those. So I want to in advance thank those people for helping me out and for giving me the information and showing me the places that I got to collect at, or some of the places I got to collect at. Without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to go in chronological order, so from kind of the beginning of the year towards the end of the year. This piece here is a nicely naturally etched selenite that I collected in Niagara, in a rock pile in the Niagara area. I just love how kind of strange it looks and just how wavy it looks due to the natural etching that occurred. The softer kind of non-selenite gypsum was etched off of the core, which was selenite in this case, which is a variety of gypsum, but I believe the outer bits were softer powdery gypsum, and that etched away a lot quicker and left us with this very strange but awesome looking etched selenite specimen. Up next we have this calcite plate from Shield Drive. This was from my first trip to Shield Drive. I did numerous trips, and I'll just show all the pieces from Shield Drive at the same time, but this was from my first trip. It had these interesting, what I've been told are graphite inclusions, or it may be hydrocarbons, who knows. But this was a kind of more unique crystal habit. Most of the crystal habits at the Shield Drive are dogtooth, whereas these are, I forget the name, but they're like pancakes kind of. I'll try and throw up the name for you guys. Also, as I talk about these places, I will link the videos below to these spots. I'll have all the links for the videos. There is a caveat. There's some specimens here that I'm just showing for the first time. I haven't posted a video of them yet, but the video will come in this near future. Here is another calcite specimen from the first time. You can see this one actually has two varieties of calcite crystal habits. You got the dogtooth plus the other habit, and there's some kind of iron staining inclusions, which kind of leaves this kind of very faint iridescent shimmer to this piece, which is pretty awesome. Then on my second trip to Shield Drive, I pulled out this awesome small cluster of dogtooth crystals from a discard pile. I just love the color and the general clarity this one has. Most of the dogtooth at Shield Drive, from my experience, wasn't too clear, whereas this one has a lot more clarity than usual, and the really nice faint kind of golden yellow color. Last but not least for Shield Drive, this is a calcite plate I collected on my third trip there. Actually, no, this would have been my fourth trip. Sorry, I did 4 trips in total. So I still have to post the second and the fourth trip for Shield Drive. But I found this plate of crystals, and you can see all the awesome kind of clustering and different kind of styles of clusters of dogtooth crystals with some nice gold, kind of honey gold iron oxide inclusions. But yeah, this was a very cool piece to find. Up next we have this cluster of milky quartz points. I chanced upon a vein of milky quartz. Most of it was pretty solid, but once in a while it would pocket out, and this was the best piece I found with the most amount of well-formed points and not a lot of contact with the top side of the vein. So this was a pretty cool find, and this was early on in the year. Up next we have my visit to the Lex Road Cut. This was a plate of scaplites and pyroxenes that I found on my first trip there. This one has a very nice large scaplite crystal along with some pretty decent sized pyroxenes. I'm a bit unsure if the pyroxene replaced the scaplite or if they grew together, or if the scaplite replaced the pyroxene, but some people have different theories on that. But this was a pretty awesome plate to find on my first trip there. I went there a second time. Wasn't as successful on the second time, though I did find some interesting stuff. This is another piece from my first trip to the Lex Road Cut. This one just has a very nice vein of very dark, well-formed, well-shaped pyroxene crystals. I just love the very dark green color that these have. Another cool piece I found at Lex Road was this large chunk with a crystal plate face, but it had this really interesting kind of semi-formed melted quartz, as you can see. Sorry, it's pretty heavy, so my hands struggling a bit. But you can see the cool crystals plus the melted quartz. A really cool specimen. Up next we have my Perth quarry trip that I did. Once again, thank you to Moses for organizing that. I'll quickly show you what these look like weathered down. These were some of the finer pieces of perovskite I took back from the Perth quarry trip. This one's got some nice dark blue colors with some great kind of faint lines. And then this one, I believe, is a chunk of fish scale perovskite, which is kind of the reason I went to quarry in the first place. And fish scale perovskite is just this perovskite that has these broken kind of cells of perovskite, and so you get this interesting kind of scale pattern. But these were two awesome finds from the Perth quarry trip that I did. I had a chance to collect apatite crystals from a bit of a secret locale near Ottawa, and this was a locale that was given I was given directions by a friend, a rockhounding friend. I'm very thankful that he did, because I found some really nice double terminated points. This one is also double terminated. This is one of the largest double terminateds I have, though the terminations are a bit wonky, but that seemed to be on par for this location. But this is a wonderful apatite crystal. And then this was one of the largest points I found there, singular points. Just was then kind of nice golden color. And then at the same location there were also these mica books, some pretty large ones, and this was one of the biggest ones I collected. You can see how thick it is and just the size of it. It's larger than the palm of my hand. I had a chance to visit the Long Lake zinc mine, which is a location that is known for its very interesting looking UV fluorescent minerals, specifically ones under long wave UV light. And I will show you these under UV light now. This is what they look under shortwave UV light. Sorry, I said long wave, but it's actually shortwave. This one's cool. If you can see that green spot right there in the middle, that's uranol, which is an uncommon mineral that you could find there. And then this one just has it's like a galaxy, a rainbow galaxy of minerals. Just very cool. And then that one just has some really bright lightning beams. They're pink in person, but they kind of show up white. Sorry, it's hard to focus with the UV light rocks. But very cool Lost Lake zinc mine specimens. As you can see, they are quite colorful under UV light, and these were some of my favorites that I found. I got to go to Kelowna, BC, and while I was there, I had a chance to go rockhounding multiple times due to some awesome locals there who helped me out. One of the first spots I went to was a place called Mount Boucherie, and there were some pretty awesome agates that were found there, and this was one of the first ones. It wasn't the first one, but it was on the first trip I found this one. Large agate in the basalt host rock, and it's just a cool example in the host rock. Now this was the very first agate I found, and I just very much like this one. It's just got some very nice white opal with some faint clear chalcedony banding, and I just think it looks very, very cool. And this was the first one I found. I kind of sat on top of a kind of a rock slide pile, and I was just looking around, and I had only really found tiny shards of agate, and then I saw this one close to my feet. It was a really cool find. I got to go to Boucherie again. The next time I went with a friend, a local friend, and we went higher up, and we found some pretty nice big ones, and this was one of the bigger partial agates I found. I bet hopefully I'll do a video on that trip, and then I can cut this guy up and polish him up and show you guys hopefully how awesome it looks once it's polished up. The local rockhounding friends I made in Kelowna took me gold panning, so I got to go gold panning, and while I was gold panning I found a bunch of garnets, but then I also found gold. Not a lot of it, but it was still a lot of fun. I found a couple sizable flakes, at least for that location, but a lot of cool little shiny garnets too. There was one day while I was in Kelowna that I had off, and so me and my newly acquainted rockhounding buddies, they took me to a couple of agate spots and a quartz spot, and at the first agate spot I found these two large nodules along with some others. This one's still in host rock, and it's actually a couple nodules together, you can see. And this one is two nodules together, but they're kind of like a flat pancake. But it was a cool spot to hunt. I definitely will get a full video out of this hunt, but I haven't posted it yet. I thought I'd also just quickly show you another nodule. I didn't include this one in the video because technically I didn't find it, but this is an honorable mention because this was gifted to me by one of my buddies who took me, Cody. He gifted this one, and I already know this one's going to be a good one because you can see there's some nice water line, and there's even some faint fortifications, and it's a decent sized agate, so I bet this one will cut and polish up pretty nicely once I take it to the saw and flat lap. On that same day, we went to another locale that was known for eye agates, and these two were the two best ones I personally found there on that trip. You can see in this one they show up really well because there's an outer ring of chalcedony with them too. Now the mineral that causes the eye is actually not agate itself, it's a separate mineral that's just included with these agates. This one's a bit more weathered, but you can see this one has some large eyes on it as well. And while there, we also kind of discovered a little bit of a seam of agate at the same location, and this was the chunk of seam that I took home. And you can see there's actually coming some really faint, what looks like feathering, and I hope it's some faint plumes or something. I'll know better once I cut this piece in half and polish the insides that are less fractured. Two more honorable mentions. This large chunker of an agate was again found by my friend Cody, and he so graciously gifted it to me. And then this wonderful example of an eye agate, this one is an amazing example. This was gifted to me by my other rockhounding friend who went with me on the trip, Mike. And this is just an awesome example of the eye agates from the locale we did go to. Once again, I will do a full video on that location and the stuff I found. Plus, I will definitely cut this guy and polish this guy, and I will definitely try and polish this guy as well, because I bet they will look very cool once they are polished. While in Kelowna, I also got to visit a basalt road cut that had some interesting zeolites and calcites, and this was one of the pockets of zeolite and calcite that I exposed. I believe this is the zeolite mesolite, and there's 2 balls of mesolite, and then there's a bed of calcite in there. And this was a really kind of unique find that I found. I didn't really find any other pieces of this mineral. Then on the same trip, I also found this lovely calcite crystal specimen. A really cool example with some tiny little secondary growth calcites growing off the larger crystal. In the middle of the summer, I had a week where I was cottaging, and I took that opportunity to go and visit multiple different rockhounding spots, and one of the spots I visited was the Desmont mine, and while there I found some awesome molybdenite specimens in matrix. This one has 3 separate crystals. Got one there, and then one partially in the matrix there. And then this one just had a nice large molybdenite crystal. Now these are some of the best molybdenite specimens I have from that location, so I was quite happy to find these. On the same day as I visited the Desmont mine to collect molybdenite, on my way back I stumbled across a road cut with smoky quartz, and this was a road cut that I believe has never been explored by any other rockhound, so that's why I'm including these couple specimens in this video, because I am very excited to have kind of discovered my first virgin collecting location. I will eventually release the exact location of where I found these, but I do want to go back and visit it a couple more times and do some more exploring before I kind of let the public know of where you can find these interesting looking smoky quartz specimens. Here we have a couple more from the same locale. This one has some interesting kind of parallel growth or celestial kind of quartzy patterns. And this one is just a nice cluster of light smoky quartz crystals. While on my cottaging trip, I also got to visit the Gibson Road occurrence, aka Titanite Hill. I found this lovely cluster of amphibole. It even has a couple nice chocolate brown titanites. This was a lovely example of a amphibole specimen from there, and so I was very excited to take it home. It's even got a couple feldspars and some very kind of grainy, degraded apatite. Along with the amphibole, I found this large cluster of mica crystals. This was found in the kind of the newer location, the location that was exposed by the recent logging that occurred at Gibson Road. And this was a lovely cluster I pulled out from that area. On the same trip, I also found a bunch of awesome titanite specimens. These two are my favorites. This one is a nice, decent sized singular crystal. Hopefully that zooms in well. And then this one is a nice cluster of multiple titanite crystals with some pretty thin ones in that cluster. Both lovely examples of Gibson Road titanite. Then to finish off my summer cottaging trip, I hit up two last locations on my way home. The first one was Dino Road, and there I explored a partially explored calcite vein at the top of the road cut and pulled out some pieces, and this was one of them, a nice cluster of diopside crystals with some very nice thin light green actinolite crystals perched on top. I also found this lovely example. It's kind of a vein that has been a calcite vein that I melted out and exposed a bunch of lovely, very thin, delicate, light green actinolite crystals. On the same day, I stopped by a garnet occurrence close to Peterborough, and I found this awesome plate of gemmy hessonite garnets. And I also found this lovely large garnet with some little tiny garnets on the side. A lovely, decent sized hessonite garnet. And kind of ending my rock hounding season, I managed to get into a location that has trebinescent hackmanite, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So under UV light, I can turn this white rock or white mineral into a dark purple mineral. This one, and it glows orange to yellow under UV light. This one isn't as bright, but it's a nice chunk of it. You can see it turns a light purple. This one actually stays. I like this one because it stays light purple even in sunlight, because the sunlight actually turns it back to white, but this one stays light purple in sunlight, and then when you hit it with the long wave UV light, you get this really nice dark purple. This one's cool just because it's a large sheet of it. And this piece is cool because it has some pretty thick veins that go quite dark purple, as you can see. So this locale was a very cool locale to collect at, and there will definitely be a video in the near future on this location, because it's just such a cool and unique location. That brings us to the end of the video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please do let me know which one of these finds were your favorite, or which finds you liked the most. I had a very fun year in 2023 and managed to collect a lot, and I just want to thank the people who made it possible. And I want to thank you, my channel subscribers and supporters, for being there and supporting my channel and watching my videos and supporting me and being so uplifting and just very positive. And hey, if you are new to this channel and this is the first video you're watching of mine, do check the link below, because I will have links to all the trips that I have put videos out on in this in the description below in the video. And consider dropping a like and subscription, because this is kind of what my channel is about. I collect minerals and interesting rocks, and I showcase my trips, and I talk about the stuff I collect. So if that interests you, please do consider subscribing. Anyways, guys, I want to thank you once again, and I want to wish you guys a good day, and I will see you guys in the next video.